Welcome back. Still taking your calls, 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Also taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. Got a couple tweets. Adam tweets in, Penn should promote Tristan Jarry to their starter and use Matt Murray sparingly. Do not hold your breath. I think what they're doing right now, as far as working Tristan Jarry in, I think that's actually paid off pretty well. Tristan Jarry was fantastic last night, by the way, against the Islanders. Looked really, really great, considering the fact that he got pulled out of the game Tuesday night because they thought there was a possible hand injury against Philly, and it ended up not being that big of a deal. So the fact that he's okay, I think, is really great news. I think I'd like to see a pretty good share of the time. I wouldn't say decreasing Murray so much. I would not mind a 60-40, 65-35 split. I think with the way this season is stacked up, both of these guys kind of had been dinged up here and there. So you probably want to lean a little bit more towards the guy that has a little bit more experience, but get Jarry in there. 65-35 percentage split would not bother me at all. I'd be totally okay with that. Bob asks, not to point out the obvious, but should we be terrified of the Jaguars? The Titans don't scare me at all. I think you shouldn't be terrified of the Jaguars. Mentioned this earlier. I still don't trust the fact that Blake Bortles was their quarterback. Love their run game. Really good defense. They've built it up pretty quickly in a short period of time. But when it comes down to quarterback play, I think the only thing you should fear is that the Steelers don't have a repeat performance of the last time. That's what I look at. And I'd like to think by default, if for no other reason, I don't see Ben Roethlisberger having another 5-interception game. I don't see the offense having another game where they just completely abandon the run in that situation and totally become one-dimensional, and that falls apart. I just don't see that happening twice. There are just so many different things that have a small likelihood of happening individually that I don't see them all happening at the same time. So as far as fearing the Jaguars, I think you should be worried about their defense because it's good, but I don't think their offense presents any kind of threat that should bother you that much, in all honesty. Going back to the phone lines, we will go to Steve in Finleyville. Steve, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, Josh.
Good evening.
Good show tonight, as usual. Hey, just want to run something by you. You started off with the beginning of the show there talking about the Dukes. What a refreshing start this is. Being a Dukes fan, you can actually hang your hat on their defense. When's the last time you could ever say that, Josh?
That's a great question, and thanks for the call. I had a discussion with a colleague of mine, and he's also a Duquesne alum, and we were talking about that. We're saying, when's the last time the Duquesne was known as a defensive team? And the numbers support it. When they hold their opponents under a certain number of games, their record is eons better than the alternative. Keith Dambrot has done a fantastic job. Now, granted, we're, 16 games in? They're 12-4. It's the first week of January, so you don't want to go too crazy. But considering what this program was in the past couple of years to what Keith Dambrot has brought in half a season, you can't deny that he's done a pretty good job so far. And the fact that he's turned Duquesne into a very defense and rebounding-oriented team, I think that says a lot. But then again, there's a lot left to happen in the conference schedule. But, hey, they've gone 3-0 in the A-10. They've only done it two other times, 2008, 2009, and 2010, 2011. Those were Ron Everhart's two best seasons coaching the program. So I think that says a lot about what Duquesne has done. So Keith Dambrot is doing a pretty good job. As an alum, it surprises me more and more to see it. I hope there's a lot more excitement around the program. I think more alums and students and fans are starting to get back into it. Hopefully that continues to roll, man. I mean, Duquesne's a suffering fan base. As much as we talk about Pirates fans having gone through a lot, yeah, okay, I get it. But Duquesne fans suffered twice as long. Okay, 20 years between playoff appearances for the Pirates, 41 years since the last time Duquesne made the tournament. Do the math. Let's keep rolling. We will go to Terry in Gibsonia. Sports Call.
Speaking of the Jaguars game earlier in the season, back when Ben said that maybe he was losing it, which obviously he wasn't.
Right.
What do you think the prospects are? He will retire, and how many more years do you think he has in him?
That's a good question. I think it depends a lot on the outcome. I think that's a very outcome-driven decision for him. For the sake of argument, if the Steelers were to win the Super Bowl, whether this season or next season, maybe he's more inclined to call it quits then. Because after that, I mean, there isn't much left to prove. I don't expect him to catch Tom Brady. I just don't think it's possible at this point. I think Brady, the way things have gone with him, is he's put himself into a class that other current quarterbacks, they have too much work to catch up to him. So I don't think that's a factor in his decision-making. But if the Steelers were to win a Super Bowl either this year or next year, I would not be surprised if he decided to hang it up and end his career on top. No one would blame him. For the career that he's had, the numbers he's put up, and the kind of legacy he's created, if he were to finish his career with the Super Bowl, wouldn't be too different from the guy who grew up idolizing in John Elway. So that would be pretty cool. Let's go to Tyler in Johnstown. Tyler, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, if we see a Patriots-Steelers rematch, who are you taking and why?
In a Patriots-Steelers rematch, who am I taking and why? Tyler, man, tough question. Considering the fact that game's probably going to be in Foxborough, and considering the fact that Steelers would have Antonio Brown back, and considering that I think the Steelers learned enough that they needed to know from the first matchup, some people might think I'm crazy. I might actually take the Steelers in that rematch, just because of what we saw from the first meeting and having healthy Antonio Brown and a healthy defensive line. I still think makes a difference up against a guy like Tom Brady. Taking another break. We will wrap up when we come back. Stick around.